Dave Pelletier helped out with 12 points, and the Rams held a slim 24-23 lead at the halftime. Third quarter, Cape breaks it open. Who else? Joel Murray, second effort off the offensive boards, finally gets it to fall. 23 of his 31 in that second half. Kevin Shaw had 22, 15 of them coming in the second half. He gets the roll there. Cape outscored Gorham 27-15 in that third quarter to take a 50-39 lead after 3. Joel Murray again underneath, and Cape wins it 72-58. In the foul, he had 18, leading the way for
Mike Garfield pulling up for a three-pointer for Portland. Cape led after one, 19-18. Eric Zimmerman with the ball to Joel Murray to Bob Dahl. He puts in 2. And Zimmerman again directing the attack. Nice pass off to Murray for the lay-in. 2 of his 21. Cape up at the half, 38-37. The Portland coach, Tony Tobias, had the Bulldogs flying in the second half. Dandria, number 11, hits. He finished with 23 points on the night. Jimmy Budrow had 18 as Portland's defense just too tight and too quick wore down Cape. The Bulldogs outscored Capers 24-16 in the third and hold them off for an 81-76 win. A well-played game by both clubs. Let's take a look at some of the other tournaments in this.
18 points, nice J right there, but leading all scorers, Cape's big guy, Joel Murray, 6 feet 7 inches, and he can jam. And he had 27 tonight. Cape led 41-35 at the half. Gorham's David Pelletier gave the Rams a 4-point lead in the third quarter. But down the stretch in the third quarter, Bobby Dahl hit 3 big hoops. He had 10 in the game. Cape led by 1 after 3. Fourth quarter, the Capers pull away. Joel Murray to the hoop for 2 more of his 27. Cape goes on to win it 77-68. After the game, a happy Cape coach, John Casey.
Poise the other night, so a lot of people probably surprised that we played a little better tonight, but I'm not. This is a team that's we played 23 games this year, and we played another 20 games in the summer, so they've played a lot of basketball, and poise is a key word, and it's something you can't teach. It's an intangible, and I think we showed it right at the end.
Speaking and destinies and so forth.
Cape Elizabeth and Gorham went at it pretty good. Jimmy Young has the details.
The Capers set the tone for their 9-point win in the first quarter. That's when Craig McLaren scored 10 of his 15 points.
I thought the start in the first half by Craig McLaren was the key to the game.
With McLaren hitting from the outside, Cape Elizabeth was able to exploit their height advantage inside, led by 6'7" Joel Murray. He responded with 27 points, including this jam.
Our team played great tonight. The Gorham's been tough on us all year long, and we came to play. We had a tough game against Messalonski. We came to play tonight.
Gorham went down fighting, though. Trailing by 6 at halftime, the 2-time defending Western Maine champs rallied midway through the third quarter. David Pelletier gave Gorham a 4-point lead. He and teammate Chad Brown had 17 in the game for the Rams, but Cape Elizabeth's Bobby Dahl got hot late in the third quarter. Dahl scored 6 of his 10 in the third, and Cape led by 1 entering the fourth quarter.
They made their one attack, and we counterattacked, and that we didn't bend. We didn't break.
In that fourth quarter, Cape Elizabeth's Joel Murray continued to go wild, and the Capers pulled away to the 77-68 win.
Poise is a key word, and it's something you can't teach. It's an intangible, and I think we showed it right at the end.
They'll need that poise tomorrow night, too, when they play Lincoln for the Western Maine Class B title. Jimmy Young, News 13 Sports.
And the Cape girls are in the finals tomorrow night, too.
Ooh, all right.
Great, not bad. Yeah, that's poise, all right. Thanks, Frank.
Basketball championships in just the first of many.
First, I think there'll be 16 in all. I'm not
kidding.
quite sure. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to go back and recheck it. In Augusta tonight, the first of the Western Maine Basketball Championships were handed out in Class B. The Cape Elizabeth boys beat Lincoln 69-51. Cape's Joel Murray and Kevin Shaw combined for 48 points. However, the Cape girls got beat by Rumford 49-38. Rumford's Lynn Wheeler with 21. So, hey, 1 out of 2 titles for Cape Elizabeth. Not a bad start. In Class A.
Class B finals of the Western Maine Tourney in Augusta. Second-seeded Cape Elizabeth boys won the Western Crown. They advanced to the state championship game. They did it with a 69-51 win over fourth-seeded Lincoln. The big gun for Lincoln was junior guard Chris McKinney. Now, this three-pointer would be good in the NBA. That's from way downtown. McKinney finished with 18, but the Cape had just too much firepower. Kevin Shaw is a shot block. 6'7" Joel Murray picks it up and puts in 2 of his 22 points. Then the two players reverse roles. Murray misses from the baseline. Shaw rebounds. He puts it up and in. He had 26. And the man running the attack was point guard Eric Zimmerman. Look at this penetration for 2 of his 12 points. I used to play with his dad. Cape wins 69-51. Murray, the Pierre Hanois Sportsmanship Trophy winner. Meanwhile, the Cape High girls not as successful this evening.
Center here in Portland isn't the only hotbed of high school basketball in the state tonight. Up at the Bangor Auditorium, the Class B state titles are on the line. Cape Elizabeth looking for their first state championship in 32 years. Now, when I visited with the Cape practice yesterday, Coach John Casey told me that he won't get too crazy about the Bangor Auditorium atmosphere.
One of the state championships that Cape lost was in 1966, oddly enough to Ellsworth, and that was in the Bangor Auditorium. And I talked to the head coach, Leroy Rand, about that, and he said his boys had some problems getting used to the depth perception behind the baskets. But I think nowadays, with the kids playing their tournament in the Augusta Civic Center, which has all that expansive room behind the baskets, they're used to that, and they're used to big crowds.
Cape is led by Joel Murray, all 6 feet 7 inches of him. And despite the fun he's having now in practice, it hasn't exactly been an easy season for him.
The season I started off, I had knee surgery with not a good start, and then we get going, and I missed 4 games with chicken pox in 1 week. So, you know, now finally I'm feeling better. We're playing tough in the playoffs. So.
He's definitely the key to our team. Without him, we were just an average team without him, I think. We played, you know, we won 2 or 3 games without him, but hey, with him, we're so much better.
And yes, there is some pressure on the Capers tonight as they head to Bangor.
Last one we won was 32 years ago.
Well, in schoolboy hockey...
What Eastern Maine fans would want.
That's right, Dale. The Ellsworth Eagles...
Eastern Maine fans would want.
That's right, Dale. The Ellsworth Eagles could not tonight pull out another miracle.
And Cape Elizabeth, the big guy, 6'7", Joel Murray for Cape, had 25 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 block shots, a triple-double. Ellsworth, Jason Sattler had 17 points, leading them in the scoring department. Tim Scott just 11 points tonight, and Murray was just too big and too much for the Capers as they win 70-54 and win their first state championship game since 1956. In 1966, both those teams met for the last time. And Ellsworth beat Cape, but in 1986 or 1988, it was Cape Elizabeth by 16 points, and they have the gold ball, and Ellsworth will take the runner-up trophy home. Now let's check the scoreboard and check those 2 scores so you can see them in writing.
2, but it was too little, too late for the Ellsworth Eagles. Cape wins the Class B crown, 70-54.
The trademark of our team for the last 3 games. Again, it was another team like a Gorham or a Lincoln Academy that if the tempo got in their hands like it did for the first couple of minutes, it could get away from us. But I think that's a credit to our team. It almost got away from us, but we silenced this crowd for a while, and I think the job done by Kent White on their star, Timmy Scott, was key for allowing us to get back in the game.
Give them credit. They're an awfully good basketball team. They're tough. They're well balanced. They've got a good club. Some excellent players. They did a great job tonight.
For Cape Elizabeth, it's their first state title since 1956, and of course, tomorrow, Dale.
It was Cape and Ellsworth in the state title game. Cape's Bobby Dahl given a little bit of room there. He drives to the hoop. Capers by 2. Eric Zimmerman, he's only 5'5", but boy, he can play. Drops this one in off the steal, starting a 12-0 Cape run. Big night for Joel Murray. 25 points, 12 rebounds, 9 blocks. Couple here on a rebound. 2 more over here coming from a pass underneath. 36-23. Capers are up at the half. Murray in the second half. Oh, awesome. Starts a fast break here. Dole with the hoop. Capers win the state Class B title 70-54 over Ellsworth. Let's go to the scoreboard and see what is going on today. Morse and Chevers and Westbrook and Kenny Bunk will go at it tonight.
Now, well, Jimmy Young's down there with a fellow who's already won a state championship. Jim?
Thanks a lot, Frank. Yes, joining me now, Cape Elizabeth boys basketball coach John Casey. And, Coach, you have to be very proud. In your second year, you finally take home a gold ball, the first gold ball in Cape Elizabeth in 32 years, if I'm correct.
There's no question about that. I have a lot to be grateful for in the last couple of weeks, but Cape has been a consistent tourney qualifier, and to see them play well and finally win one was icing on the cake. So, as you said, we feel real good about it.
Now, we also owe congratulations to John. He welcomed the second member of his family. Wife Debbie gave birth to a baby boy this week. Obviously, a memorable week for you, a state championship and your second child.
One I'll never forget.
All right, now let's talk a little bit about your basketball team. Joel Murray, you start with the big guy. We're going to take a look at some of the action from, I see that's the Gorham game up in Western Maine final. But when you talk about your team, Coach, I think the success depended on your guards.
There's no question. We had an outstanding front court that averaged 50 points and 25 rebounds, and it became very easy to take that for granted and to expect that. We got a lot out of Kevin Shaw and Joel Murray and Craig McLaren, but what really made us a tournament team that peaked and won that tournament was the play of our guards.
That would be Bobby Dahl and Zimmerman. Alan Zimmerman?
Eric Zimmerman was our point guard, and he had an outstanding tournament, outstanding 4 games. He coached the team on the floor. Bobby Dahl was like an instant blood transfusion for our team off the bench. He's going to make something happen no matter what game or what situation he's in. And David Smith and Kent White were the other guards, and they were the ones who really rounded out our team and made things happen for us.
Now, when you talk about basketball teams and successful basketball teams, you talk about programs, you talk about building for the future. You guys, what do you have in store for the future, Coach? I think that's the true test of a coach, is to see how you handle the pressure after you win your first state championship.
Well, it's going to be a test. We're going to give away a lot of size next year. Obviously, we've had some size the last 2 years. We've been very fortunate for a school of our size, 500 people, to have the size that we've had inside. But we're going to be more like these teams out here tonight. We're going to have to up-tempo, and we have the people that can do it. So it's going to be a different game plan for Cape Elizabeth next year.
Now, Coach Tom Maines from Morris brought up the topic of an open high school tournament, all classes, based on the Indiana. You as a Class B coach, how do you feel about going into a tournament against the Portlands and the Morses and the Westbrooks?
Well, if I looked at it from my own personal viewpoint, I think obviously when you take the good B teams, they can compete against the Class A team. It's been proven, it's been done before. To expect a Class C and a D team to play in that type of tournament, I think you're asking an awful lot. Obviously, you'll get those instances where a Falmouth like last year or an Old Orchard Beach of this year could play in a tournament like that, but I think those smaller schools really look forward to those tournaments, and those regional tournaments mean an awful lot to them. It's asking a lot. I'll have to think about that a little bit more.
You like playing against the big schools in those Christmas tournaments, though, don't you?
Oh, that meant a lot for us. We played Portland in that Christmas tournament, and I think our guards probably learned more than anything from that tournament. And we made a good showing, so it definitely adds to our confidence. It rounds out our schedule, and it gives us some exposure that we normally wouldn't have.
One last question. Portland Morse, who do you like?
Well, I'm just a fan here tonight, and you're going to look for a fast, up-tempo game. I hope it's as exciting as the final 2 years ago when these two teams played.
Well, we do too, and congratulations again to you and your wife and your whole family, Coach.
Thank you, Jimmy, and thanks for the interest.
All right, Coach, and let's throw it back upstairs to Frank and Coach Dyer.
All right, a state champion. Cape Elizabeth winning that Class B state title.